I'd like to welcome all the delegates from different countries who have come here for the summit. I'd also like to begin by thanking you for standing in solidarity with us against what happened in Kashmir a few days ago. I apologize. I was supposed to be here yesterday, but I was forced to cancel my visit here yesterday because I had to go to Kashmir and meet some of the injured people. I'd also like to thank Revant Reddy ji and the Telangana government for hosting this wonderful summit. As we all know, politics, democratic politics, has fundamentally changed across the globe. The rules that applied, I would say, a decade ago, simply don't apply anymore. Sometimes, when I speak to younger members of our party, I tell them that what was effective 10 years ago, the tools that worked 10 years ago, simply do not work anymore. They cannot face the concentration of capital, modern media, modern social media. And so, in a sense, the old politician is dead, and a new politician, a new type of politician has to be constructed. And that really is the challenge in front of all of us. What does this new politics look like? What are the ideas that emerge from this new politics? I'm sure you've had a deep discussion about policies, about how we should think about education, how we should think about regaining the democratic space, how we should think about healthcare. And each one of us has a particular view on that. So I'm not going to delve too much into the policy positions. I'm going to talk about what I think is the correct lens with which to approach our politics. Some years ago, we in the Congress Party felt completely trapped and isolated. This new politics, aggressive politics, a politics where the opposition is not talked to, but the idea is to crush the opposition. And we found that all our avenues were compromised. The media, the general atmosphere did not allow us to operate the way we would like. And so, we reached back into our history and we decided to walk from Kanyakumari, which is one of the southernmost parts of our country, all the way to Kashmir, where I was yesterday. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I and some of my colleagues discovered on that journey. It's not a small walk, 4,000 kilometers. And I don't think we understood quite what we had taken on when we began it. But once we began, there was no way backwards. So we just carried on walking right to the end. And I essentially learned two things from that walk. Our opposition across the world has a monopoly on anger, fear, and hatred. And there's no way that we are ever going to be able to compete with them on anger, fear, and hatred. They are going to outdo us, outmaneuver us, and beat us every single time when it comes to fear, anger, and hatred. So the question is, where and how do we operate? Where are the spaces where we have the advantage? Where are the spaces from which we can build a counter narrative? So the walk started in Kanyakumari, and slowly as it progressed, more and more people started to join this walk. And within 10-15 days, walk would start at 6 in the morning, and we would have thousands and thousands and thousands of people walking with us, pushing us, people trying to come in. And it was something to see. My job was walking and listening to people. And the one rule we had was that anybody, regardless of who he is, who she is, should be able to come to the center of where we were walking and have a conversation with me or the other leaders there. And so we followed this rule rigorously. As we walked, we talked and walked and talked and walked. I suddenly found that it became harder and harder to speak. Us politicians, we are trained to do this. We are trained to come on stage and talk. We are trained to tell people what we think. We are trained to think about the future. But while I was walking, the number of people who were coming to me made that impossible. And so I started to listen. And I realized, halfway through that walk, I realized that actually I had never ever listened before. And in fact, I didn't know how to listen. I knew how to speak, I knew how to think, but I didn't actually know how to listen to people. What do I mean by that? Whenever somebody was speaking to me, I would have a conversation going on in my mind. I would be listening, and at the same time, I would be talking. Relatively quickly into the yatra, the talking completely stopped. And all I was doing was listening to the people who were coming next to me. And I discovered that there is a completely different way of communicating with people, a much more powerful way of communicating. And that way involves me or us becoming completely silent and listening deeply to exactly what it is they're trying to say. I'll give you an example. The one that really struck me. We were walking. It was early morning, it was still dark. And this woman came running towards me, and she held my hand. And the moment she held my hand, I felt fear in her hand. I didn't say anything. And I asked her, "What's happened?" And then she started. And she said to me, I've come here to walk, but I have to go back. I have to go back quickly. I said, "Why?" She said, "Because my husband is beating me. My husband is thrashing me, and I have come here to this yatra. And then I said to her, I said, what do you want me to do? And she looked at me, she says, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to know that this is happening to me. And the moment she said that, her hand completely relaxed. And I realized that it was as important for her to be heard, for me to understand and us to understand exactly what it was that she was going through. That was as important as any action we could take. And in 1 second, she transmitted to me what millions and millions of women go through in their homes. So our opposition really does not know how to listen, because they already have all the answers. They know exactly what is supposed to be done. And this is completely flawed, because it is the people who know what has to be done. And if there is one thing that we have failed at with all the social media and all the modern communication methods, it is that we have, as politicians, failed to deeply listen to what our people are trying to tell us. And this is the space where we can really operate, because our opponents have completely vacated this space. They're not there. They don't exist there. The second thing I learned, even more powerful than listening properly, on the yatra, it suddenly struck me, something struck me, that when it comes to people I'm close to, my mother, my sister, my friends, I'm very comfortable using the word love. And it struck me that I'd been in politics since 2004. And I never ever used or expressed love to anybody. So I was saying to people that I want to help you. I was working hard to help people, but I was not expressing the reason I was working. And so on the yatra, I started to do so. Little girl came up to me running, and she said, "Uncle, I love you." And I was like, that's interesting. Why have I never said this before? Why have I never used this narrative that is the central narrative and the reason for what I do? And so I started. I would listen, and then I would use the frame of love and affection, and I would tell people that, I love you very much. And something quite amazing started to happen. Till the yatra, I never used the frame of love, and nobody else used the frame of love. So I didn't have people coming up to me and saying, "I love you." And since I started using the frame of love, since I started saying to people these sort of uncomfortable words, that, "Listen, I love you, and that's why I do what I do, that's why I work," suddenly they started to respond. And today, in public meetings, on the street, people will stop me and say, "We love you, I love you." And the powerful thing about that is it starts the conversation at a place from where it's very, very easy to operate. Often we think that we are going to connect to people indirectly through policy, through the future. We'll help you with your children's education. We'll help you with finance. And there's a place for that. But there is also a way to connect directly to the persons present. Directly saying to them that the reason I'm standing here and the reason I'm doing what I do is because I have affection, love and affection for you. And it has completely changed my politics. It has made my life so much easier. It has made my ability to connect with people so much easier, I cannot tell you. On the yatra, we got a slogan. The slogan in Hindi is Nafrat ke bazaar mein mohabbat ki dukaan, which people who understand Hindi will translate. But what it basically means is that in a marketplace of hatred, you are opening a shop of love. Now, this slogan became very, very powerful in India. The idea that no matter how much hatred someone spreads, the biggest and most powerful way to disrupt them is not to copy them, not to argue with them, not to fight with them, but right in front of their hatred, to place the idea of love and affection. So that, I think, is a framework, a potential framework for our politics. We can disagree on policies. In fact, I'm sure that every single one of us will disagree on some policy matter or the other. But the lens we use, we can all agree on. Their lens is hatred, their lens is fear, their lens is anger. Fear leads to anger, ossified anger is hatred. And our lens should be that which cuts their lens. Our lens should be love, our lens should be affection, and our lens should be listening to the wishes and the will of the people we are supposed to represent. I'd like to thank all of you for coming here. It's an honor for me to listen to what you're saying, to work with you, and I'm confident that this summit will generate the ideas that we need to build a new politics in India and the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, ladies and gentlemen, always motivating and inspiring us. And through this Bharat Summit, our leaders, Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, and Shri Mallikarjun Kharge ji, we hope to start, and we have, I should say, already started, a global progressive movement where we want to show that Swaraj, Ahimsa, Satya, and Aparigraha are the only way to create a just and liberal world order.